West Africa builds better houses than America and much of the Western world. I've built new homes in America and West Africa, and I can tell you, when you see the construction of new homes in West Africa, you're gonna have a hard time settling for the junk they try to sell you in the United States. The biggest reason for this is, where does your money go when you purchase a new home? In America, most of the money that you pay for that new home is going into the land and into the permits necessary to build your house. Whereas in West Africa, most of the money that you're putting into the new home actually goes into the home itself. So you can have better building materials and a higher building standard than you can in America. In fact, let me compare two. This is the kind of build quality that you'll have in America if you're buying new home construction. It's basically as cheap as they possibly can make it to maximize their profits. Whereas check out West Africa. The walls are concrete. They're not cheap wood and drywall. The floors are marble. They're not this cheap artificial wood that they've been using in all the new homes that they call luxury in America. And the location of the houses makes a lot more sense in West Africa. In America, when you're buying new home construction, even luxury home construction, you're generally put off into this land of suburbia where you're 15 minutes away from the nearest store. Whereas in West Africa, you can purchase a home that's conveniently located to the metropolitan areas, which makes life a lot better on a day-to-day basis. And let's talk about privacy. In West Africa, you can build a privacy wall around your entire property. So people can't just walk up to your front door, or they can't just look in and see what you're doing. In West Africa, you get that safety, security, and convenience. Whereas in America, they only allow you to generally do these cheap vinyl fences, and if you're lucky, they can be 6 feet tall, and they can only be in your backyard. So everybody could just walk up to your front yard when you buy a new home construction in America. And in West Africa, new home construction isn't as restricted as it is in America. So if you want to build a one-level house, you can do it. If you want to build a 6th bedroom instead of having a 5-bedroom, we can make that happen for you. And if you want a guest house, that's absolutely no problem. As long as you got enough space on your property, we can build that for you too. Instead of having to do it in America where you have to get permits for every little change that you make to the property. And as a result, the houses don't all look the same. Have you ever gone through a suburb in America and the only difference between any of the houses is what kind of vinyl they put on the front of the property? They call it a facade. Sometimes when I'm in a house in America, even a luxury new home construction, and I'm in one of the bedrooms, I have trouble telling the difference between the multi-million-dollar house and the much less expensive house for first-time home buyers.
Now, before we move forward, I do want to say I don't totally agree with what he's saying, even though houses in America are being built the way he's saying, they're being built cheaply and things like that. They still do hold a lot of value, and it's a great wealth building vehicle for people in America. It has been forever, and it's going to continue to be. Now, the houses in America, due to the weather and places depending on what state you live in, houses being built that way, it's not that bad. It's not breaking under people. It's not falling apart. People generally live in these houses for a long period of time. And also houses being requiring permits is also not a bad thing. Of course, I do know that sometimes it gets over the top and becomes very bothersome. But these permits are very necessary for every changes in the home, which ensures safety of its residents.
For your money. But even for getting value play, I think that they build the houses much better at a higher quality, and they're just nicer places to live in than what you'll experience in the Western world, where everything is basically cookie cutter.
What up, visionaries? How's it guys going? Let's jump right into today's video and let's talk about this. Now, so you guys know, every now and then I get a good video that come my way and like to kind of make a commentary on it or a reaction video as well. However, if you do, when you're out there on the internet, you see some videos that you think is interesting and you want me to comment on it, or you want to send it my way so I can do a reaction video, that would be wonderful. Now, of course, this video has to be related to Africa, West Africa, or Liberia as a whole. Let's talk about what this gentleman here is talking about and what my thoughts are. Now, first of all, I mostly agree with what he's saying. Of course, there are some nuances with what he's saying. It's a little bit of a generalization statement, but in all, overall, the high level view of this, I agree, right? Buying homes in America compared to Africa, as far as your money it being worth your money. That's why I always advise, and even bigger companies and CEOs and real estate investors are kind of putting the money in Africa, and you see that all over Ghana and Nigeria. I mean, Liberia is far behind. Now, this is not a knock on Liberia. Of course, we are coming through, right? We all know the history of Liberia. We all know kind of like just the country, turmoil, leadership, and all of that stuff. But we're in modern days, 2023, and Liberians all around the world are catching on. Liberians in Liberia are catching on. It's a slow process, but it's getting there, right? Now, as far as building in Liberia and it being worth your money, like this gentleman said, it's true. Buying a home in America, mostly it's set up in a way where the people who are benefiting are the developers and the bigger company, the big banks and the big investment firm, right? Because there are so many investment firms in America that have funds, millions and billions of dollars that like build buildings everywhere. And most of what you're buying in America, as far as the homes, goes entirely towards everything else, going towards the funds for buying the land and the city and the municipality that the land resides on, right? And things like that, and the profit margin, because the people who are building the home probably has a loan out, and that loan has to be repaid with interest, and they have to make profit. So a lot of those goes into that. So your home you're buying for $350,000 US in America mostly costs about $100,000 to build. And so the margin are way over 60% and things like that, as compared to building a home in Africa, in West Africa and Liberia. Most of your money goes into the actual building, the material you're choosing, the finished product. So basically, like he said, man, it's a great investment. That's why I always mention people investing in Africa. That's why it is prevalent right now. You see so many big CEOs from the Western world are going to Africa to build. That's why you see country like Ghana and Nigeria. The people in the diaspora and people who are in the country itself are just investing a significant amount of money. You can never go wrong with real estate. It's the number one, I mentioned it the last time, wealth building tool, right? People build wealth with real estate. And what is better, why wouldn't you want to utilize a tool, in this instance building in West Africa, where most of your money actually goes towards the value of the home and not so much towards like the person who's building the home, the repayment, the interest, the loan, the investors, and all of that stuff. So definitely, of course, like he said, there's some general statement he's making here as far as, not all the homes in Africa are being built with extreme quality and beauty and stuff like that. We get it. And he's referring to homes being built with wood and other things like that. If you go to other states like California and Miami and Florida and things like that, you notice houses, people who have a lot of money are building beautiful homes that do not look like, that are not built with wood and all of this cheap materials and stuff like that. So again, I get the point, right? And I agree with the point, but it's not wholeheartedly right, but there's some nuances there as well. But in general, that's what I said. That's where myself, my team, my company in Africa, in Liberia, is focusing on real estate as well, because there's a sure way of retaining value and also helping build the country rapidly. That's a good way to do it, right? But yeah, so owning a home in America compared to Africa, or building the home in America compared to Africa, the proportion of the value of what's retaining the property is significantly different. As far as here in America, most of that goes to things outside of the actual material and home itself, goes to everybody else involved in making money, and very little into the actual home, as compared to West Africa, where you're actually, the money, like I'll say 70% of that amount is going into the quality of the home, the materials that's being used and everything like that into the home. But I just thought it was a great video just to make a quick comment on it. Let me know what you think. Comment below, share the video as well if you kind of agree with what the gentleman is saying. Have a good day, guys.